Do not buy a property without first watching this video. Hey, what's up? My name is Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor and I recently had to save somebody from buying a terrible property that could have ended up costing them tens and tens of thousands of pounds completely down the drain. And in this video, I want to tell you this. Do not buy a property unless you have first watched this video to the end. Do not buy a property unless you have first smashed the like button on this video. So go ahead, smash the like button on the video, watch the video till the end, and let me tell you a horror story about a guy called Peter who almost got busted. So I'm about to go to bed, and I'm just scrolling through Instagram, and I get an Instagram message. And I look at the Instagram message, and it's a guy called Peter. Hi Peter, if you're watching this, you know who you are. Peter messaged me on Instagram, and Peter said, Samuel, I'm thinking of bidding on this. And he just was a link, Under the Hammer, okay, an auction property. I'm thinking of bidding, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, man. Okay, let's have a look. Click on the property, I look at it. And the property is filled with red flags. I looked at it, I had a quick glance. Yes, it's 11:30 p.m. and I'm in bed, ready to just chill and go to sleep with my wife. But I can't not respond to Peter, because if Peter buys this property or bids on this property and wins it, he could be busted. So I'm gonna tell you the 5 things that were picked up. The 5 things, not one thing, not 2 things, not 3 things, there was 5 problems with this property, okay? So the first thing to bear in mind is it was an auction property. What happens if you bid on an auction property and you win the bid? What happens is you have to buy the property. You can't pull out. Not only do you have to buy it, but you have to buy it within 28 days usually. So you've got to get the cash. So this is serious. This is not child's play. So I'm looking at the property and I could see some serious issues with the legal pack. It didn't quite look right. It was clunky. There was bits that looked contradictory, bits that looked missing. So I responded to Peter, I dropped Peter a voice note and I said, Peter, don't bid on this property until you have spoken to your property solicitor. Speak to a conveyancer and ask them to look at the legal pack. Peter responded with a thumbs up. He said, sure. I'm thinking he better not bid, he better not bid. So the next day I get a message off Peter in the morning. Peter said, holy moly, thank you for saving my ass. I'm like, Peter, come on, what happened, man? So Peter phones me up. This is just an Instagram follower. He's not a student, I don't know Peter. I'm now chatting with Peter on Instagram, voice noting each other back and forth, and he said to me that the solicitor had picked up 5 things. And these are things that you need to look for. It's crazy legal problems that can happen. I can't believe it's even legal to just sell properties like this. Although if you enjoyed the video, hit like, hit like. Number 1, so the property is sold as is, which is kind of normal, that's standard, no problem. That just means that it's sold as is, there's no comeback. But the terms and conditions clearly state that you cannot rely on the description or the sales brochure. You can't rely on it. What does that mean? That means that if the pictures are wrong, if the floor plan's completely incorrect, if the property's completely missold, you have to sign a waiver to say that's okay. That's a bit of a red flag, because that could mean that in the description it says something completely wrong. So you have to basically just ignore everything that's in the sales brochure, right? The description, the floor plans, everything. You just have to ignore it. Number 2, the legal pack was severely uncompleted. Okay? Now, what does that mean? That means that they didn't give information that's important to have. One of the bits of information that Peter said was missing was who owns the property. The solicitor said there was confusion over who even is the seller. It wasn't clear. That's a red flag right there. That's a bit of a problem, but it gets worse. Number 3, there was no guarantee that the property was being sold with vacant possession. What does that mean? That means that normally when you're selling a property, they'll say it's being sold with vacant possession. So you're buying the property empty. This property did not say that. This property, there was no talk about who was in the property, there was no talk of tenancies, so Peter looked into it, and guess what? The property did have somebody in it, not a tenant, a squatter. Imagine that, imagine buying a house and then realizing that there's a squatter in the house. Oh my goodness. Okay, that was problem 3. It gets worse. Problem number 4. There was a hidden fee of £10,000 on top of the purchase price that goes direct to the seller. Bruh. Okay, Number 5. This is the worst one. Wait for it. This is crazy. I can't even comprehend this. Oh my goodness, I'm getting hot right now. Number 5 is the property is being sold with a mortgage. Peter's solicitor said the seller was not obligated in the sale to remove the financial charge prior to the completion. So that literally means that there's a chance that Peter buys the property, £200,000, but then there's a mortgage for £150,000. That is crazy. So, what's the solution? Well, obviously Peter did not buy that house. There was too many problems and red flags and ifs, buts and maybes and just some serious devastating things like squatters in the house. But what it means is, when you're buying a property, especially from auction, make sure that you get a solicitor to read through the legal pack before you bid. This is huge. Also, when you're buying a property, please don't buy it blind. There was a story in the newspaper recently, I couldn't believe, I've just seen it from the Metro, about a property. Looks like quite a nice little property. Looks nice. Oh, what's that in the background? It looks like in the background there is a pylon. A giant pylon in the background. Guess what? That's not in the background. That is in the back garden. Oh my goodness. So the property was being advertised. Of course, they did not use this picture. And you can easily miss it. So don't rely on pictures. They say a picture tells 1,000 stories, but actually I believe a picture sometimes paints 1,000 lies. Don't rely solely on the picture. Get down to a property, look at it in person, have a survey on it, get a legal pack looked at by a solicitor before you bid, before you offer on a property. This is called due diligence. And this is all part of the process that you need to know before buying property. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.